Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for joining us, you early birds. We will get started here at just a minute or two past the hour. I give everyone some time to get into the room today. But again, really thank you for being here. We're excited to talk with y'all today and get some great conversation going. So hang out, get yourself something to drink, and we will get started in just a few minutes. Thank you.
Welcome to Let's Talk ACA, our 8th edition, the podcast where Affordable Care Act meets real talk, hot takes, and insider moves. I'm Kathi Wilson, and joining me is my co-host, Alex Ferron.
Hey, everybody. How we doing today?
Hi, Alex. How are you?
Hi, Kathy. I'm great. How are you doing?
Good. I'm ready to let's talk.
Yeah, let's talk about it. You're looking sharp today. How you feeling?
Aw, thank you.
I
You
like
know, I
those
like
lapels. Those are huge.
I like to stay sharp. This is called Lazy Spring Girl. Like my hat.
That's a good hat for walking downtown in Nashville. That's a good one. Nice and keep the sun off you. All right, how we doing today, everyone? We got about 50 of us here in the room today. Want to give a quick shout out to any of you that joined us last week in Green Bay at our March Madness event. Boom. Hope you guys had a great time. That was a ton of fun. Good to put some faces to names with us folks that, Kathy and I, we work fully remotely. So always awesome to see everyone. So, Kathy, what are we talking about today?
Today, we're going to be talking about mid-year best practices. Just because OEP is over doesn't mean we stop selling or start thinking about our next move. We're going to go over a unique little cheat sheet we put together. It's called our ACA Playbook. It's a little pocket book that you'll get, or you can download the screens or the PowerPoint just for a quick reference. New product spotlight. We're going to go over some products that are under 65. And we're actually going to talk more about cross-selling because being diverse is how we're going to maintain our book of business and our.
Absolutely. And so, just to quickly address this here, it looks like a couple people were experiencing that. I think we might have opened up the webinar room twice. I'm not sure exactly. If any of
Uh-oh.
you are logged in twice, I apologize. That could have been a little tech thing on our end. So just check your other browser window, or if you have two instances of Zoom open and just close one out. Otherwise, again, we always record these things. We'll send out a follow-up to everyone here today, as much as we'd love to have you with us to keep the discussion going. So just check if you have two instances open. Should be good to go. Jerlene, looks like you got it solved. We love to hear it. And so, again, as we dive in today, what we love to do with the Let's Talk is talk about it. So if you guys have any questions, any comments, things that you're experiencing in the field, things that you heard from other agents, friends, family, whatever, put that in the chat. We also have the question and answer open today, and we'll have some time for Q&A at the end. But let's dive into it. I think it'll be a little bit of a shorter one today, so we'll be sure to get you guys on your way. But nonetheless, we still have plenty to talk about. So the first thing we wanted to kind of discuss today is some mid-year best practices. We just finished our first quarter. Can't believe how fast that went. And we're now getting into the second quarter in the middle of the year. This is the time really when more than anything else, I encourage some follow-up and some cross-sell with your clients. Oh, and excuse me, had a little guest appearance from Peanut today.
Hey,
Peanut, the
Peanut.
ACA cat. She loves ACA and short-term and under 65 insurance.
Alex, can you believe it's already Easter?
No, that is crazy to me. I can't believe it's Easter weekend.
And if you're not contracted, we've got to get on the ball because blackouts are going to happen before we know it. And then, Christmas is right around the corner. Start
Absolutely.
planning.
One thing that I always notice every year is that because JSA is so Medicare forward, we do so much with senior health that a lot of our agents want to get involved in ACA, but they don't do so until they have, like a prospect or a lead. And no time is a bad time to start, but middle of open enrollment, companies will take weeks to contract. You're not going to be able to sell for a week, or so if you start the process during that time. Really now is the best time to get involved with a lot of these contracts. The certification is free. There's not a lot of appointment fees. So really the only investment is your time. And you said it best, Kathy, blackouts are going to come faster than we know it. Summer gets busy with all your product details and setting appointments and all that good stuff. So jump on the ball, guys. We are here to help you. All right. So, some mid year best practices. Again, I think the keywords today are going to be follow up and cross sell. So, to reiterate, this past year with the ACA, we saw the enhanced subsidies expire. And that's definitely still something that's kind of contentious in government right now. We expect to see some kind of healthcare reform coming down the pike. But at the moment, sort of radio silence as to what we're going to do next here. So, ACA rate increases, we saw up to 20% in some areas. We saw some big ACA rate increases in a lot of areas. We saw even up to and above 20% in certain states and regions. So that is a huge rate increase for any client, no matter how much they're paying, no matter how much subsidy they're getting. This is a big deal for a lot of folks on the ACA. So what we've seen is some agents who are switching their clients into sort of lower tiered plans this year. Like maybe if they had a silver or a gold plan last year, it was a little bit more expensive. We're seeing them put clients into a bronze plan or some other kind of alternative, maybe something that's HSA eligible to give them a little bit of savings to sort of adjust their income to give them a better chance at the subsidy now that the enhanced subsidies have expired. And so with that, a lot of agents that I find are having success in this market, they do that critical follow-up around this time of the year where it's been a few months. They say, "Hey, have you used your plan yet? Have you filed any claims? Have you experienced anything positive or negative with your plan? Is the premium working for you?" I know that especially when we find that success and we generate our own book of business and we get a lot of clients, it becomes harder and harder to follow up with them all. And so you'll naturally have some people that just roll over year to year. They don't contact you, they're happy, you've spoken with them last year. So this is a good time to say, "Hey, have you noticed a change in premium? Is that still working with your budget?" And more importantly, remind them that if you have a change during the year, I'm here to help and make sure that you are adjusting your income on healthcare.gov. Or if you use a state-based exchange like Connect for Health Colorado or Covered California, same thing. A client can update their expected adjusted gross income annually on these sites month to month, which will accurately adjust their premium along the way. So, really, what this does is it just prevents a surprise at tax time. It prevents your client coming back to you and saying, "Oh, I didn't expect to have to pay $2,000 into my taxes this year. I thought I was going to get a refund. Where's my money? What's going on here?" So, if you help your client and you encourage them to make sure that they're staying on top of their income, especially if they're a gig worker, if they do sort of contracting work, anyone that is working in the gig economy in general, really important that they're staying up to date on their income. Kathy, you're muted.
Sorry, we're gig workers, we're freelancers, you're in 1099s. We have to guesstimate, so best practice every 3 months, right? And that way they're not shocked at the end of the year to do that adjustment. And so you might wanna tag those certain 1099 freelancers or self brokers to check in every 3 months to see if you can adjust that for them.
That's a great tip. Practice what you preach. We are gig economy workers as agents in the field. Our commissions aren't a static salary every single year. So, yourself, if you're an agent on an ACA plan, this is a good tip for you as well. And I think what you just said, Kathy, is also important to just touch base with your clients and make sure that you're assisting them with this process as well, because it can be kind of confusing for some people to navigate, a website like healthcare.gov, even if it is client facing. So that is a good practice. Make sure you're touching base with them and that you're getting that income updated. And also during that same conversation, it is the time of year, ding, 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 for cross sell. And we have a little bit of a tip for you today, a new segment that I'm calling our product spotlight, where we're going to go over a fantastic cross sell opportunity for under 65 clients. And I'm really excited to kind of show that to you guys today. But Kathy, you might have some more experience with this being a broker in the past, a successful broker. And what is kind of, I guess, because this can be a little bit awkward with some clients, but it's a need that a lot of agents, I think it's a simple thing that they don't do. How would you, as a broker in the past, ask for a referral?
It's It's kind of like your work speaks for you because if you're doing it right, and this is with experience and with a lot of brokers that have been doing this a long time, you actually don't have to ask, but you have to get into the practice of saying, "Is there anyone else I can help?" Because if you don't do that, you're doing a disservice to the member and their whole family because now we're talking, we talked about it last week, cradle to grave. What does that look like, to be able to cover somebody from cradle to grave. Well, that's where all of our other products come in. And the more we go through this, I want brokers out there to realize that there's opportunity there because let's say you didn't give them a hospital identity at first. Well, let them use their plan for a while. And now that they've been on it and had some things maybe have happened, it's a great time to come back in. And you're not sitting idle with no SEPs for ACA. You're going back in to see something might have happened and how you can, fix that gap or protect them. I just had a friend who I went on a cruise with a couple months ago in her late 30s who had a stroke this week.
Oh,
Things
no.
happen. Yeah, things happen, and without that protection, a lot of us think, "Oh, I don't need it until I'm 60, 65." And Alex, you and I have quite a vast age group. I could be Alex's mom, but we both we'll go and we wanna talk about, what would you get at your age? And what should I get at my age? And where I think they would kind of be parallel, right? Because we think it's an age thing where we should have this kind of protection. Well, we do know the younger you get something, the cheaper it is. So, and we'll go through that.
Absolutely. And that's a really great kind of thing to impart that you said at first, where, a lot of times you do if you service your clients properly and you make sure you're getting their needs taken care of, you're placing them with, a dental vision plan in addition to whatever health insurance that they have. I've always heard that, the best tip you can give me is your word and your referral. And I think that really speaks true with a lot of agents where when you become that community agent, you're not just the Medicare guy, you're not just, the financial planner or the PNC person. When you become a community agent, and what we've been saying lately is an agent for life, to make clients for life, you're going to have those referrals come to you naturally. But even still, when you're meeting with a client, you're talking, of course, about their family, what's going on. You make sort of that idle chit chat, and you become friendly and build that relationship. They mention they have a son or a daughter, maybe a brother or sister, an aunt and uncle. Oh, they went through this recently. Oh, my son just moved. My daughter started school. She's 26 now, and she's on to med school or whatever it is. Hey, I have something that they could maybe need. Oh, your son's coming off of your insurance. Well, I do ACA as well. I can help with that. So, it's not coming out necessarily and saying, give me a referral. It's listening and being an active participant in the conversation and picking up on those little keynotes where maybe you can inject your help and say, I have a resource for you, your friends and family to make sure that you're getting taken care of. And one thing that I heard recently when we were actually at March Madness is the cross sell versus kind of upsell conversation. And I have the little fast food graphic on the screen today because this really stuck with me. And it kind of surprised me personally about how obvious it was. Where when you go to a restaurant, when you go to some place like McDonald's or any fast food place, what do they say to you at the counter? Well, if you don't order from a kiosk nowadays, of course, but if you're like me and you like to go up to the counter, you say, I'll have that and that and that. And then what do they always ask you? They say, would you like fries with that? It's
Yeah,
your
so
drink.
we don't have to upsize, but we want maybe the value meal, to put everything in just to make it the value worth it. And when we start cross selling, Alex, you're going to see for under $100, you can add on so much protection for somebody.
That is another great analogy actually that I didn't think of. Why give somebody the a la carte value menu when you can give them the entire meal package where everything together will actually be a little bit less and they're going to get more value for what they're paying for. So maybe that drink becomes a dental vision plan, maybe those fries are an accident plan, which is what we're going to talk about today. Accident plans are a fantastic opportunity for cross sell. So make sure that you're adding the value to your sales. Whoops, let's go here. So as we move along, since we're in the middle of the year, I want to talk about just a few options after open enrollment. This is the time for SEP, so be looking out for your clients that have a loss or a change in coverage. Maybe they've moved and they have a change in residence, or as we're going to see more commonly over the next, 8 or 9 years here, is we're going to see more and more people coming off of Medicaid as we are expecting some budget cuts to many state Medicaid programs. Kathy, I know you and I had talked about that. I was actually looking into it a little bit as I was finishing the presentation today, and it's really hard to find information right now about how all of that is going to roll out. So I think we have a future Let's Talk ACA topic on our hands here.
We sure do, and we just want everyone to be aware that that's happening. It's spanned out for 10 years where it's gonna be the non-enhanced Medicaid, but there's gonna be a lot of cuts. I'm hearing from brokers already. Illinois is gonna be a hot spot that they're already seeing. And when we see Medicaid cuts, it's the whole family, right? Because the mom and children used to be covered. And one point I wanna just mention, I know I say it all the time, when we're canvassing and asking these questions, not only you're getting referrals from your clients, but we were having our podcast videoed. There's so many different examples of people that we talk to that are servicing us. And when you ask the question, you realize they don't have insurance or they just lost their Medicaid.
Yeah, you made a great point the other day where, even if you're sitting down at maybe at your local restaurant, your diner, something like that, hey, you're making idle chit chat with the waiter or waitress as well. Do you guys get health insurance here? You can also find your way into local businesses or people that, if you have a waitress's salary and you're primarily working off of tips, you can have, again, a very variable income. Maybe last year they weren't eligible for the marketplace or vice versa, but this year they are. Maybe now they make too much money. And if they have to report more of their tips, whatever their situation may be, you can always find opportunities kind of in the everyday as well. And I thought that was really interesting that you brought that up. So, as in terms of other stuff we're looking at this year, again, potential of enhanced subsidies, we could see them return. It's kind of, a little ambiguous as to what that would look like right now until we have more information, but it is currently on the table. Again, I expect us to see some kind of healthcare reform over the next, until the end of the year. Something there, we're going to hear more about it. If you missed open enrollment as a client, or if your premium has gone through the roof, you may be a good short term medical client. So, we're not going to talk about that too much today. We hit on that last week. If anybody would like the session, let us know. But we are more than ACA here. We are talking about short term a lot lately. Why don't you give a quick breakdown on that one as well, Kathy? Kind of what we've been saying about short term.
Yeah, short term, if you have ACA, you need to have short term contracts. It's a good catch we know that it's cheaper than Cobra. And what we know now in some states and quoting, it's a lot affordable than ACA. So the alternative is there. And again, we've talked about individuals, clients who have a political stance or they don't want it or had a bad experience. Short-term medical is the way to go. Some of the states have expanded for a year and underwriting for 3 years. It used to be just a 3-month option. And so we're really excited about that. And the more we're getting into this, I come from you know what you know until you don't know, you only know what you know. And so we're just here kind of giving you examples so that you can go, I had no idea. And that's what we do as brokers. We kind of stay in our lane sometimes. And until we're shown it and forced to see it time and time again, it's like, "Oh, I had no idea." And when we're cross-selling and talking about short-term medical one other thing is that short-term medical is for the healthy, right? We wanna make
Yes.
sure they do have to have underwriting. Pre-existing is gonna matter and can be denied. Your major chronics and diabetes will get a denial for that. But, we're gonna look at it from our side too as a broker, right? Commissions are great. Even
Really
with
good.
ACA, when we came into this world, everybody was saying, "Oh, it doesn't pay anything. Oh, I'm not doing all that work for anything." Well, what we've been able to prove is that it's not a lot of work. The pay is there, and now we're gonna highlight as we go on through our podcasts and trainings, your commission is really well for all of these add-ons and cross-selling.
Yeah, short-term medical is exceptional for that. And I mean, when the ACA started, some of you more veteran or seasoned agents, you may remember that they were actually paying a percentage of monthly premium in a lot of cases. And we've seen a lot of up and down with ACA commissions. they're this, they're that, they change year to year. I mean, the ACA has been around now for over 15 years, so we've had a lot of development. And short term has actually stayed relatively stable, except for some of the term lengths changing. But that's why we've been talking about it more, is that in a lot of states now you can sell these plans for 12 months again. Sunita, I see your question in the chat. Unfortunately, the big thing is it's not available everywhere. Some states like Colorado, New York, California, Washington, they have very limited short term options. Usually comes down to an issue with just state law or state legislation. So it's not going to be for every client and it's not going to be for every agent, depending on where you're working. But if you are in a state that offers it or you're selling in states that offer it and you're doing ACA, make sure you have at least one product in your back pocket. We can help you with that. It's just another option in the under 65 market nowadays where, frankly, we're seeing pretty limited options for some people, especially this last year with certain carriers pulling out of, counties or regions where maybe that felt that their bottom dollar wasn't going to be there with the enhanced subsidies going away. So important to keep that one in mind. And of course, now is the time for cross sell as you're following up with your clients. Ask them if they need a dental appointment. Ask them if they have any concerns about maybe cancer, heart attack, stroke, critical illness. If they live in Wisconsin, my home state, those sidewalks get icy, people. If you fall and break your arm, have an accident plan. It's going to help you out a ton. So we will talk about that more. But Kathy, now I want to talk about kind of your brainchild, which I think is so exciting here, which is a great resource for you all, our ACA playbook. So let me bring this up here, and I think we can just do a quick little run through of this, as there is a ton of information in here, and we don't have to go over all of it, but we will be providing a digital copy to all of you today. And if you see us in person, we have some physical ones as well. So keep this on your laptop, especially if you're going somewhere where you might not have internet, because this is such a cool, quick reference guide. So why don't you take us on a little walk through the ACA playbook?
Sure, we're going to go through this really quick. Again, you're going to get a copy of this that you can save. And if you see us in person, I do have small little pocket ACA playbooks we gave away at March Madness. This is coming from, a broker field mind where I want something at my fingertips where, especially if you're just getting started. Look, if you guys have been doing this for a while, you probably don't need this, but it's our ACA playbook and it's going to be all under our Green 365 series, which is get ready, engage, enroll now, 365 days a year. So, what this is going to have is your hotlines, right? Number one, JSA. Call us. We can help with most everything. Of course, we have to point out that the other platforms are federal sites. So we will do our best to help you maneuver through that. But in case we can't, we've included Health Sherpa, Agent Support Line, healthcare.gov, and of course, the marketplace broker support line is where you have to make that three-way call to change the agent of record.
I'll tell you what, I been doing this for a few years now specifically for JSA, and right away, I always forget these numbers. And so when you showed this to me, I was like, perfect. I am already getting value out of this thing. I always am telling agents those numbers as well. This slide I also particularly like because I always forget what state is a state based, what
Yeah, these
state
are the
is listed
questions
on
that
the
we always
federal.
get, right, so I was like, "Let's just put it down in a quick format," and these are you have your federal states, and you have your state-based, and that just gives you a list and where you need to get your certifications and where your platform is gonna be located. Just a tip sheet, making sure you've got everything aligned before you meet with the client. Explanations, because you hear a lot of different terms, we've got we're the broker and the brain, we've been joking, Alex and I. Alex, his brain set reads advanced premium tax credit, and my brain goes, "What does that mean?" Break it down for me. And so this is here to help you understand the terms, and you don't necessarily have to, t you know, tell them to your client, but you can help them understand when they're seeing these words because it can be kind of daunting to see, "Oh my gosh, what is a tax premium?" What is that
Mhm.
about? And what is cost share reduction? Again, this does not necessarily mean you have to share it with your client, but to understand these and see how it works, and then you'll get a better understanding of the ACA policies that are available.
And I like this one too because with the ACA, just even in the name, is it ACA? Is it Obamacare? Is it a marketplace plan? Is it an exchange plan? We have so many of these analogous kind of interchangeable terms with the ACA. So this is nice as well because whether it's your own refresher or if you're sitting down with a client, and if you're just getting into this, it's a new thing. We all have our own learning curves to go through. And your client says, "Oh, I noticed it says I'm eligible for a cost share reduction. I thought I was already getting money off of my premium.
Right.
What's a cost share reduction?" You open it up. Hey, here is exactly what this is. You don't have to, fiff and faff and fumble and do whatever. You can tell them, word for word, here it is. I like this one as well because a client will say, hey, I'm making about this much. Do you think I'm going to get a subsidy? Take a look right here, federal poverty limit chart, household of four. Yeah, you know what? You make under X amount of dollars. Looks like you and your family are sitting at about $100,000 for a family of four. Yeah, I think we're going to be able to help you get some subsidy this year. And here's a better, kind of quick reference for that as well.
And again,
Uh,
through
Go ahead.
some just definitions to help you understand so you're not just in, the gray area. Some of the things that goes through explaining what a silver plan does and, where you're going to fit on the metal level. And some important enrollment dates, this may or may not change. If it does, we'll update it. But for now, this is what it may look like.
True, we might have to have a 2027 edition as we
Sure.
go
Well,
on.
2027 is going to be a lot different because we know there are some changes that are coming. Just what we do know is the maybe reapplying and document.
Yeah, I mean, there have been some proposed changes already. The open enrollment time frame for next year might change. The auto enrollment process, eligibility might change. But what we saw last year is a lot of proposed changes and less happened than we actually thought it would. And there was
Yeah.
kind of a lot of angst and sort of fear going into open enrollment that, yeah, premiums went up. But we still saw huge enrollment numbers in the ACA, and really there weren't as many changes as we thought. So don't want to jump the gun on any of that, but obviously it's sort of floating around in the ether right now, and we may have some updates to give you guys. But hey, that's why we're talking about it, right? I like
Yeah.
these next couple slides as well.
This is
Just
my favorite slide
this is
because
super
there's so
helpful.
many more SEPs available, especially if you're coming from the Medicare world, and you can see all the opportunities that you could have to change somebody mid-year.
Really helpful. Really, really helpful. Affordability, if somebody is offered an employer plan, can I get a marketplace plan with a nice little easy to understand example right there? Talking about, can my family be in the same bucket as me? Quick look at some of the plan levels and everything else in here in terms of who's eligible, who's not for lawfully present foreign nationals. Really just an awesome guide that you can keep in your pocket, keep on your desktop. And that's the whole thing right there. So everyone, again, you will get a copy of this. I think it's a great resource, and thank you, Kathy, for putting that together. I think a lot of agents are going to find some great value in that.
My pleasure.
So now we talk about our new segment, our product spotlight. And today we are talking about UH1, United Health One, or some of you may know it by the old brand name, which was Golden Rule. I want to talk about their accident wise line of products. Accident is something that I've been talking about for a while, and I kind of reflected today and I said, you know what? I never really dove into this. So, not going to give a big deep dive, although I do have kind of an opportunity for y'all if anyone would like to get a better deep dive. And what I want to talk about today is really just the need that the accident plan fills for a lot of clients, the benefit of having an accident plan. And I want to show you guys how affordable these things really are. So, let me show you a little quoting example here.
Before we get into that, what's an
Yeah.
accident?
What's an accident? I
Is
think
it
it may be more than actually what you think it is. As I was looking into this today, I was kind of surprised myself at what is actually considered an accident or something payable on these plans. It's pretty interesting, and they're I think a little bit more wide ranging than a lot of agents might think. So an accident can really kind of be anything that puts you into the hospital or even to the doctor's office, and you'll see here that a lot of these are sort of they're sort of combined products. So an accident plan that also has like a critical illness or an hospital indemnity element. But I really like UH1 because I think the plans are easy to understand. They're easy to quote. and they're actually pretty competitive with some of the other carriers that we offer as well. Allstate has accident products, GTL has accident products. So we have a few options for you guys if, for whatever reason you want to have a couple that you can offer your clients. So let's take a look here. I think this is going to be a good example. So I am right now quoting UH1 accident plans. This is my hometown zip code in lovely Wrightstown, Wisconsin. Grew up in a farmer's town of about 2,000 people, and you can bet your bottom dollar a bunch of people were getting hurt in that town as they were doing woodworking or farming or whatever it might be, a bunch of salt of the earth people. And this is a really good example of how you can help people like that out. So I am going to put in my birthday here. I am going to be 33 this year. And
You young buck, you get to get
it's crazy to me. This is my ninth year at JSA. I was even younger when I started here by quite a bit at this point. But
Yeah, we all were, Alex.
I know, right? And it doesn't just feel like that. Time has actually passed. I feel old sometimes.
If I'm looking to get contracted with a carrier for ancillary short-term critical cancer, does every carrier offer products in every state, or do I have to research that with us? How do I know which one to go to?
Yeah, that's a good question. And it also brings up a bigger point, which I'll touch on in a moment. But we have, for most of our ancillary carriers, ancillary products seem to be pretty wide ranging. If a state like California or Washington might not have a short term plan, more than likely they're going to have a dental vision option, or they're going to have a telehealth plan or an accident product. These plans are really considered like health insurance products. They're more of like indemnity or lump sum pay style products. So they are less restricted by state law than something like a short term medical plan, which is a health insurance product. And so some states with their own creditability standards and the ACA legislation, they say, I don't care what it is, a health insurance product has to meet this baseline. So I guarantee you that if you don't have one of those products available, you will definitely have one of these ancillary ones available. And like I said, a bigger point that kind of brings up is, maybe you are working in California or New York. Short term isn't available here. Well, our short term companies like Allstate, United Health One, and Pivot Health, they all have these ancillary products baked into the contract. These are not solely short term medical appointments. If you're working with Medicare clients and under 65 clients, both sides, they are going to have products for you that you can offer to your clients. Even if you can't do that primary short term medical plan, they have huge ancillary suites. I mean, just take a look here for UH1, and I really like their product suite because I think they're competitive and they have some great options. They have supplemental plans like accident and critical illness, they have telehealth, mental health products, dental vision, as well as your short-term medical and your fixed benefit insurance or hospital indemnity. So all of those are available on a single contract for you here. And it's very easy to, meet a lot of client needs with just one appointment. Just keep that in your back pocket. I know I always say that, but it's so important to at least have the option on the table. So if we look
Those
here,
Yeah, what are
go
we
ahead.
looking at here? You've now quoted yourself.
I have. So I am a 33-year-old male. If I were still living in my hometown of Wisconsin, I want to show you guys what I really like to promote accident plans for. And that is helping your clients get through the deductible phase of their ACA or their short term medical plan. These are high deductible products. And if your client is going to have, unfortunately, something happen to them that puts them in the hospital, or they have a procedure done or a surgery, or they visit the ER, or they take an ambulance, that biggest exposure that your client is going to have is, unfortunately, it's not that increased premium. It's getting them through that deductible, which is oftentimes going to be, frankly, a pretty big chunk of money for anybody. So, what I'd like to talk about is you can use an accident plan to help jettison your client through that deductible phase and get them into the copay phase of their plan where that insurance is actually going to start working for them. So here's the scenario I'm going to pitch to you today. Let's say you have an ACA client or a short term client, rates have gone up the past year, and they say, I don't know if the silver or gold plan is going to work for me anymore. My income increased. I'm getting a little bit less subsidy. And you as the agent say, well, yeah, let's fit your budget. We'll put you on a bronze plan for this year. You're still covered. You're still going to have your preventive, and you go to the doctor for 25 bucks, but we're going to have to increase your deductible. Maybe you had a $2,000 deductible in that silver plan. Let's put you on like a five or a $10,000 deductible gold plan. Well, check this out. Again, biggest out of pocket exposure your client is going to have is getting through that deductible. $5,000 deductible plan for a 33-year-old, extra $33 a month. Maybe you reduced my premium to help me fit my budget by $200 if I'm your client. Well, take just a fraction of that, put it into an accident plan. You say, hey, I know we had to kind of lower your benefits this year to meet your budget, but what if I offered you something that was just a fourth of that cost, a fifth of that cost? And if something happens to you, you are going to be covered first dollar to help you get through your deductible phase. For $5,000, you can do a $32 a month accident plan here. If you want to move that up to $10,000, still under 50 bucks if your client gets hurt to help them cover their deductible. And this is actually the more expensive option, which is the Pro Gap. It includes hospital and sickness benefit. If we come down here to the Pro Guard product, $10,000, $5 less, 43 bucks a month for somebody like me.
So, Alex, break this down for me. If I enrolled someone into this, what do they need to do once they have an accident?
So this is a lump sum payout plan. It's an indemnity style plan. So essentially, when your client has something happen to them, they'll have to file a claim. Then, of course, as long as it's approved, they go through the regular process. They essentially just get a check in the mail. It's going to help them out again with getting through that deductible. If they get hurt after that point, or maybe they've paid into their deductible a little bit already. Well, we all know how much goes into even just a hospital visit. Maybe your spouse has to take time off of work. You need meals while you're in the hospital. Maybe you need childcare for your children if you don't have a family member present. This plan won't just help your client get through the deductible, but it will help them with those costs as well. So maybe they have a $5,000 deductible, but you put them with a $10,000 accident benefit. In broad terms here, the idea, of course, is just to give them that a little bit of additional coverage to help with their out of pocket payment. Let me give a little bit more of an example here. I'm going to
I
show
just
you
saw the
guys just the
question, which
brochure.
made my brain think about this too.
Yeah,
Is this
what's
a
in the chat?
lifetime? So if I sign up for this, I use it, I get the $10,000. Am I done? Or how does that work? Do I get another accident plan? Or you may not know. We might have to dive into this.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't want to get into too much of the details today. I'm going to show you guys on the next slide. We have actually some UH1 webinars that we're promoting. Get it straight from the horse's mouth. They are going to tell
Perfect.
you everything about these, and we have an upcoming date for you. But in general, these are renewable products. So they kind of work on a term, same as you would with like a short term medical plan. And then after a certain amount of time, once that term comes up, they can renew the product again. And these are issuable anywhere from age 0 up to age 64. So these are under 65 products. They're intended for the under 65 market. But this is kind of an interesting one because if you have this, you can actually renew the plan up to 70 years old. So we'll actually cover over into Medicare age a little bit as well. And I'm seeing a lot of questions in the chat, which is
Yeah, they're
awesome.
good questions.
We're
Again,
going to
what
get
is
to
an
that in just a
accident?
minute.
I mean, is an accident meaning define that because I know I can't have a heart problem. That's not an accident. I can't have a lung problem or a diagnosis of something. That's not an accident. I think you take it as its true definition.
Yeah, and actually with some of these, because they do have that critical illness benefit, that will actually help pay out with this plan as well. So, for example, here's the Accident Pro Guard that we were just looking at. So it's
Okay.
an accident plus a critical illness plan. And this is the brochure from UH1. Let's come down to this page right here, where if you, as an agent, were proposing this to your client, You're going through that same kind of quoting process that I just showed. You can help them enroll or send them a link to enroll. They'll choose an accident benefit, a critical illness benefit, and then an accidental death and dismemberment. That's A, D, and D benefit. So it covers all of these things. And obviously, as we get into more of the fine print here, it's going to show exactly what pays out for what. But here is, I think, the best example to answer that question here. So accidental injury, right? That's what we're talking about, something unforeseen that puts your client in a little bit of financial and medical stress. So, if they're, they get burned or they get cut, if they have a concussion, especially if you have maybe a younger kid that's in sports,
Mm.
you go to the ER, you have an urgent care visit, those are all going to be covered. Also, within 30 days of that treatment being received, if you have an ambulance, anesthesia for a surgery, a doctor office visit or an x-ray, a surgery, all of these would meet sort of that example. And so, let's take this guy right here. Apparently his name is Edgar. He's a biker and he loves to bike so much that he hurts himself in the park. So, an ambulance takes him to the hospital where he has surgery to repair his fracture that he experienced while biking. Total medical expenses are $7,000 or so. He meets his deductible for this plan, which is $250. He is paid out of the $10,000 what that accident is actually costing him from the hospital billing him. And then he still has X amount, in this case around $3,000 of whatever the benefit that he chose was for that year. It's not really based on the amount of services that you have rendered. It's based on the total policy benefit that you choose. That's a
Yes,
good
similar
example there
to
to just kind of show.
Aflac, yeah, just a different line, different carriers. When my daughter was younger, she was playing soccer and had a concussion. The MRI alone costed thousands of dollars, which I got billed for because I insisted on having it done, something like that. And I'm wondering what the
Exactly.
age limits are too. We'll have to make sure we tune in.
Yeah, all the way down to 0, actually. If you have dependents under 18, 0 to 64 is the issue age for this plan, and then again, if you already have it and you go past age 65, this plan is still renewable up to age 70, is the way that this one works in particular. And I think, again, you pull up a really good point here, which is you don't want your clients to forego healthcare because the price is scary or it's something optional or preventive. You want to make sure that you're doing everything you can, because if it was your daughter or your son, you want them to be okay. You want them to have the best care possible, and you don't want the financials to get involved in that. So obviously, we want to promote these products to help people be healthier as well. So just a quick example here before we moved on. This is the critical illness benefit. This is included with this accident program plan. As you can see here, heart attack, stroke, coma, any sort of major organ failure, even end stage renal failure and dialysis. These are
Oh,
all
wow.
covered at 100%. And for example, benefit here that this person chose, $30,000. Again, instance of illness, file the claim, get paid out. Easy as that. And I'm seeing a lot of questions here, which is awesome. We're going to still try to answer some of those at the end. I know I opened up a little bit of can of worms here with this accident plan, but I think that shows the need for it, that you guys are interested. And in general, I really wanted to show that for just under, $50 a month, you can offer these plans to your clients. There's no additional certification or training. Very easy to say, hey, are you worried about the deductible? I might have something that can help you out with that. So keep the accident plan in the back of your mind. I think it's going to be a really good cross sell opportunity if you
I
have
like
those.
the accident. I like the critical. Unfortunately, that list you showed, I can name somebody for each of those chronic conditions or ailments that have happened. And I know all of you guys can too, especially if you are selling ACA, especially if you're selling Medicare.
Absolutely. And I mean, one thing as well here, if we just take a look, was what was it here on the last one? End stage renal failure. My cousin, he had to go through dialysis. I have a very good friend from college. He went through ESRD. He's actually only 40 years old and he's already on Medicare because of it. These are very common things. And, here's an interesting one as well: invasive cancer after 90 days. If you have a client that says they're also worried about cancer, the statistic is horrifying, but I believe it's 1 in 2 men, 1 in 3 women is kind of the generally accepted stat, are gonna get cancer in their lifetime, whether it's, something very serious or something minor. regardless, I know if I was told by a doctor that I had cancer, I'd be scared out of my mind. And this is going to give a little bit more peace of mind to your clients to know, hey, if this happens to you, 100%, you know, you're going to get paid $20,000, $30,000. It's going to help, with the flights if you need to go to a different treatment facility in a different state. Very easy to get people involved with this plan and get them
Well,
a
Alex,
lot
we
more
don't
coverage.
realize that when you have all these chronic issues that happen, it's loss of income, right?
Very
Sometimes
true.
you're pulled out of the game and you can't work. And, not to call anybody out, but there was a sales rep that sells these that we ran into at March Madness, and he's had cancer twice, two-time survivor. He didn't have a cancer policy on himself. And so, guys, I'm driving this point in. Look at yourselves, look at your family, and you've got to look into these products. And if you get them, then you believe it, right? Because I don't like to sell anything I don't believe in. But why aren't you covered? And I'm speaking to myself. Alex and I have
Same
had
here.
this conversation. It's like, we don't need coverage. Well, unfortunately, there's no discrimination of age when it comes to illnesses. And we want to make sure that everybody gets that so that they don't have to go through the tragedy of also the income loss and things like that.
Very true. Cancer and illness does not discriminate. And if you have a spouse or children, again, if they
Yeah.
have to take time off of work, if your kids have to be pulled out of school or they need additional childcare after hours, these are all things that add up that a lot of people don't think about beyond just the hospital bill. So make sure that you're checking this out a little bit more. To answer it quickly, I will send over that brochure for the UH1 product. And like I talked about, UH1 has a ton of webinars that they're doing for all of their products this April. So on Thursday, 4/16, save that date in your calendar. I will send a link to register for this webinar in our follow up to all of you today. Hop on that. They're going to go into a deep dive on the accident products that they offer that day for that webinar. That will be a great opportunity if you are looking for more information on these. But of course, in the meantime, if you have any questions, shoot us an email to our ACA email. I'll be more than happy to help you do a little bit more of a deep dive into these products.
Yeah, I think we've piqued some interest by our questions, which good. That's a
That's
great thing.
awesome.
We're
Yeah.
just here to, give you ideas and open up your mind so that you can see that there's greater things to happen and things to be sold to help people. And what I really love about our carriers, we offer 3 short-term medical, but a handful of ancillary. From my experience, when you contract, you can call them directly and go through different scenarios and get quotes. You don't have to do this alone because there are a lot of options, but guys, everything we're doing under 65 is so easy.
Absolutely, and so many resources available to you. The carrier reps that we have for our under 65 products, especially like Pivot and UH1, for
Yeah.
example, Allstate, they work with agents all the time, and they're always saying to me, "Hey, do you have any agents with questions? Can I work directly with them? Can I help them out? Can I show them how to quote?" So it's not just JSA at your back. We have some great carrier reps as well. So if you want to get involved, your best first steps are to, of course, certify if you want to do ACA, or we can help you with short term medical contracts. If you're going to do one, I highly encourage you to do the other. Check your state based exchanges if you're working somewhere. Try, use that list in your playbook, Kathy. That's a great way to see where you're working and what certifications you might need to do if you want to sell Affordable Care Act plans. And then in our Agent Resource Center, get knowledgeable, get ready, engage, enroll now with our Green 365 trainings coming soon.
Have a rumor that it might be after Friday.
Ooh, okay. We're taking that the day before the Easter weekend to get all prepared. That's awesome. And then one thing I'm excited about is we are currently working on some brand new ACA marketing pieces. Have a little sample here for you guys. I really like both of these. We are going to have a new line of flyers and handouts, poster pieces, stuff you can put on your social media, customizable with your agent information, address, phone number, email, whatever it might be, tear offs, all that good stuff. So here are two pieces that we've just made. We're working on more right now, but these are all going to be available to you for free in the Agent Resource Center. So we're going to have some new ACA marketing coming out as well. So with that, again, we have some up and coming stuff. Kathy, why don't you tell them what's on the horizon?
So make sure you tune in to United Health One webinars all of April. I think they're starting maybe the 6th or 7th. You should have seen a JSA email blast that went out where you can register for them. They're covering all different products. And I'm not a big fan of webinars, but I will if I need to find out and learn about something. And hopefully that will be very educational and you'll be ready to start writing.
They can't all be
Um,
like the Let's Talk podcast.
I
Those
know.
guys, they can't all be like that. But, no, I'll include the link to that email as well in my follow-up for all you guys.
Yeah, and this summer we have boot camps coming at our headquarter locations. Maybe if you've been doing this for a long time for ACA, it may not be for you. Maybe you've had your contracts for a long time but haven't sold. We're going to do real life situations, a lot of role playing, a lot of skits, a lot of fun. Your sergeant recruiter is going to be Alex and myself, and we're just going to put you through the ringer to make sure that you are ready to sell ACA. We may even take you out in the town and show you how to canvas and find those markets. If you have a town center or something where there's a lot of different restaurants, you just hit it. Give those flyers out. We've been throwing this idea around of maybe a cocktail hour every once a month, every Tuesday or something to the hospitality industry. Come for a drink or meet up, and let's talk about how we can help sponsor that maybe.
So Hub 2 recruits, we're gonna put you through it with our boot camp. Gonna be a lot of fun. I need to go to the thrift store and find some, fatigues cap or some
We're
camera.
gonna have some fun with it, and we're gonna show you how to cross sell through it too. These things are important to see them, and at least for me, I have to see it to be able to do it, and so that's just our go-to and how to teach this better. We've got a ACA 101 in short-term medical. There's going to be monthly. I have our next one that's going to be April 7th. If that's something you need, please email us. It is invitation only. It's not a monthly blast yet, but going forward, it will be. And then as, rumor has it, we will have our Green 365 available, after this weekend so that we have right now DSNP Green 365. And so it's gonna, simulate that a little bit, but dive into under 65 products.
Awesome. Very exciting. A lot of cool stuff on the horizon. So, as we are getting to the end here, let's scroll back through the chat and we'll check out a few questions. I don't think I'm going to be able to answer everyone's questions about accident today. I saw that you guys had some nice in-depth stuff, but again, that's what that webinar is going to be for. Or if you want to know something ahead of time, just shoot me an email. I'm more than happy to research.
Yeah, we're gonna take your interest and we're just gonna expound on the topics that you wanna learn about because it's important to be able to see it and touch it and sell it?
Absolutely. So let me look at our Q&A first. And of course, just quick, I want to say thank you so much for spending your afternoon with us and spending this time with us. We're going to go over Q&A for the rest of the session as long as anyone wants to hang out. But again, everyone, you will receive a follow-up from us with a recording of this, some of the resources that we talked about today, including the webinar schedule and the ACA playbook. So we got you taken care of if you need to bop off, but we're going to take a little bit of extra time, hang out with you guys here and go through the Q&A. So if anyone has another question as we go through, put it in the Q&A or the chat. Christy asks, who is the contact to find out if our state offers short-term medical? This guy
That's
right here
us.
and that gal right there. We can help you out with that, let you know it's available in your state. Just shoot us an email, give us a call. We'll run through the states that you're working in and make sure that you're good to go.
What's the email, Alex?
ACA@jsaonline.com. Same email tag as the rest of us. You just put ACA ahead of it. Marlin asks, can the plan provide more coverage for sickness or hospitalization? That was in regards to the accident plan. And yes, those are super customizable. Again, if you want to go a little bit more bare bones, you can go with, I think it was called the Pro Guard product, or if you want something a little bit more beefed up, go with the Pro Gap or vice versa. Again, my apologies. I can't remember off the top of my head, but point being is that they're not just accident plans. You can provide additional benefits for sickness, critical illness, hospital indemnity, whatever you need. They're pretty customizable in the benefits that you can choose.
Yep, let's shoot over to our chat. We covered this a little bit. Any short-term medical plans in California? No, there are not,
Unfortunately not.
currently. Where can I find ACA Green 365? Oh, yep, we covered this. Just to reiterate, hopefully after This weekend, they'll be ready to go. If not, please reach out and I'll be happy to send you the trainings.
Yeah, I know you and I have talked before, Matt, so check back next week. If we don't have them there, just let me know. I can probably throw you a few things in the interim, but appreciate you joining us today, man. Brad, hey, how you doing? We spoke yesterday, dude. With the SEP for income change, gain or loss, is there a minimum income amount to qualify for the SEP? So this is in reference to if you have a change in income and you're on an ACA plan, what are the limits for actually qualifying that client for a change? So the past year, we had something called the 150% FPL SEP. That is no longer. So the way that it kind of reads now is if your client has a major change in income that qualifies them for more savings on something like a silver tiered plan, then they're allowed to change their product. However, if they have a change in income and they just want to go from a bronze plan to a bronze plan, that's essentially not allowed. Really, what the marketplace is saying with this SEP is if you have a change in income that qualifies you for cost share reductions on a silver plan, we will allow you to change to that silver plan. Now, the thing with the marketplace that's always a little ambiguous is sometimes you can call the marketplace with your client and they'll kind of work with you on an SEP anyway. But generally, that's what we're looking at is a change from like a bronze or a gold plan to a silver plan with cost sharing reduction. So it's less about the quantitative amount that they actually had change in their income. It's more about the other plans that they qualify for now and if those are going to be a better value to them.
And it also doesn't give you an SEP to get into it for the first time. A lot of these SEPs
Correct.
reflect that you're on an ACA plan and the change has been made. Even moving doesn't mean I moved and now I want ACA. You have to have been on a plan, then you can move to another plan with the SEP.
Absolutely. Carmen asked, can clients without a social security number enroll? I think that's when we were talking about the accident plan,
I
but
think so too.
let me answer that a little bit more in depth for you. If you're talking about the ACA, technically, yes, they would be provided with a temporary tax ID number if they are a lawfully present foreign national in the US. So, yes, they can enroll without a social security number technically. For the accident plan, I believe that's the case as well. Let me take a quick look here if you want to answer the next question, Kathy.
Do we have a centralized quote platform for ancillary products? Now, I
Kinda.
know we haven't, but we have core that's being created. And I'm not sure, Alex, do you know if that will entertain all quoting?
Yeah, core is not gonna help with the coding as much as it is just your client management. What we do have though is called My Quote. That's in the Agent Resource Center. It's not gonna help with all of your ancillary products, but you can quote hospital indemnity and dental and vision through that platform. So it's not gonna pull in everything. We don't have quite that amount of aggregate data to provide you guys all on one platform, but check out My Quote. That will be a good one. And from what I'm looking at here for the eligibility, it looks like they just have to be eligible by age. I will go through the application though and check that one for you, Carmen. That is a good question.
Michelle wants to know if the plan cancels. We covered this a little bit just to reiterate, Alex. If I got in an accident and got my benefit paid out, what do I do next?
Okay, so if you have any benefit amount left, you will still qualify for that remaining amount if you have another instance where, you can file a claim against the accident plan and be paid out. However, if you meet your benefit amount for your term of insurance, it's not going to cancel, but your benefit will reset the next year. So it's kind of like a renewable product year over year that's going to help you out.
So that
Are
benefit
these
amount you're saying is a annual one time once a year and then renews.
Yes, yes. Let's see here. Are these medically underwritten? Yes, they are. They do have a guarantee issue product though as well. Sunita, is this just if the insured has an accident or if they have a scheduled surgery too? Because they are underwritten, it would have to be something that hasn't been scheduled yet. But if they, have an illness or something come up where the doctor says, we got to get you in surgery, yeah, that was covered under the surgical benefit for the plan. Again, I won't get too far into the details here as we're going to promote that UH1 webinar for you guys. Or again, just ask me if there's anything specific you want to know. I'm more than happy to research it for you and be totally transparent that I don't know off the top of my head. Aflac, is it similar to Aflac? Is it payroll deductible like Aflac? Yeah, I know Aflac has similar products like this. This one I don't believe is payroll deductible. They either have to do a credit card or an EFT. That would be something more like a short-term disability plan that you get through your employer, where it's payroll deductible. Jan, I jumped on late. Is this a recorded session? You betcha, Jan. We are going to be sending out the recording and additional information to everyone. Christy also asked, who are the carriers in Oregon? We'll let you know, but there is a few short-term medical plans available there, as well as ACA that we have. Let me see what else. John, thank you for joining, John. I've spoken with you before. Thanks for the webinar. I'll take a look at the short-term policy options you discussed. That would be great. Let me know if you
So,
need
Alex,
any
are
help with that.
short-term medical policies have anything to do with your income?
No, nope. Just your age and your health. As long as you are in the appropriate age range to take a plan, which is, in most cases, either 0 to 64 or 18 to 64, and you're healthy enough to pass the underwriting,
Right.
doesn't impact your income at all. We even took a look at one on our last, short-term medical webinar that I did recently. And these are, in a lot of cases, like half the price of a full priced ACA plan, sometimes
Yeah.
even like a third of the price. They're definitely a lot more budget friendly than if your client, lost their subsidy this year.
Yeah.
Jerlene, where are the locations and dates of the boot camp? TBD, but the locations are going to be around our home office location. So, like LA, Fort Myers, Florida, Green Bay, Wisconsin, around like the DFW area of Texas, so on and so forth. Hanania asks or says, thanks, Kathy and Alex. Thank you for joining us. Really appreciate your time.
Hanania, he's in Jacksonville. Good.
Oh,
One thing that
awesome.
yeah, to brag on him a little bit, just a lot of ideas, what down the road, we'll have, like, an agent forum or whatever, because we wanna see what works for different people, but his family owns lots of laundromats. So, he was a Medicare agent. Hope you don't mind me sharing. He's a Medicare agent, and as we were promoting ACA, he'd been with JSA for a long time and mentioned this, and I thought, "My goodness." You're sitting on a gold mine to be able to help people. And so more to come on how well that's going.
Absolutely. You know what? That's a great idea as well. A local place like a laundromat where you have people coming in and out all day long, put up your flyers there, or if you're not in such a fortunate position to be the owner of the establishment yourself, see if you can find the owner. A lot of them have their numbers
Yeah.
posted in the actual laundromat or something like that in case an issue occurs. Put up a table in there and sit there for maybe 2 or 3 hours in the afternoon with, a coffee dispenser and little things of soap to offer people for their laundry. I guarantee you'll get us some people to talk to.
Mhm.
Mary, is short-term medical in Wisconsin available for 12 months? Yes, it is available for 12 months with an option with most carriers to renew for an additional 6 months for a total 18 months of coverage. However, your benefits will reset after the first 12 months. So, yes, 12 months in Wisconsin, good to go. Matt, thanks again, man. Appreciate you being here. Danielle, family of 7 called, denied by Medicaid over 60 days ago. Should I quote short-term medical instead? Whatever the date on that Medicaid denial letter is actually their SEP start date. They may still have time. However, if they can't get that, short-term medical is fine. But if they're coming off of Medicaid, they really are probably a better ACA client.
And I bet
I
a
would look into
family of
that.
7 is gonna get, of course, I don't know their incomes, but it's household income, the mom and dad. I'm guessing a family of 7 might still reach a subsidy. I mean, that's a
Absolutely.
so I would quote both. And you guys, quoting both, now you know. Now you know.
hmm
You could
And you
see
know
side
what?
by side.
If they can't get on the ACA, if they missed their opportunity, unfortunately,
Sure.
short term will at least be
That's right.
probably budget friendly enough to get them through the end of this year. Sell them a year-long plan, check out their options next to open enrollment. If, open ACA looks good for them at that point, you can cancel a short-term medical plan at any time. So maybe you sign them up for ACA next open enrollment, cancel
Mhm.
their plan for January 1st. Those are always on a month-to-month billing cycle, so your client can cancel at any time. It's even prorated in a lot of cases if they paid up front. So they could be a short-term medical client. However, I would look at that Medicaid denial letter, see if you can still get them into the ACA. That's probably
Yeah.
a better ACA client. Kenneth, can CSRs be taken away retroactively if income during tax time was over the limit? Kinda. I mean, what could happen in a case like that is, let's say the client maybe grossly underestimated their income. They made a lot more money, and so that put them out of the range cost share reductions on a silver plan. Well, what could happen then is they may have to pay additional money into their deductible or kind of a back payment to the insurance carrier. That's a little bit of a more unique situation. I haven't personally dealt with that one, but I know that it can occur with those cost share reductions where you want to be sure of your client's income if you're going to put them on a silver plan with a CSR.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Jada, my quote does not show STM, accident plans, or illness. What ancillary products are available in California for over 65? So, yes, my quote is not going to do short term medical, accident plans, or illness. It will show hospital indemnity and dental vision. Ancillary products available for in California for over 65. Frankly, I'm not sure off the top of my head. That is I guess, more of the Medicare team's knowledge in this case. But a lot of these plans, especially the hospital indemnity products, they have pretty wide issue age ranges. Like a lot of them are either starting at 40 or 50, all the way up to 80 for some of our hospital indemnity products. So we have plenty of them that are available for over and under 65. We'd have to look specifically into California. And thank you so much for joining.
You guys have the
We
best
always do.
questions. Thanks so much for hanging on there. If we haven't answered your question, you have a particular situation, email us, aca@jsaonline.com, and we will be back again next month. Date to be determined, but look out for the email blast from JSA.
Absolutely. And so all of you will get the follow up from me either probably tomorrow in the morning. So I want to say thank you all again for spending your time with us today. Keep talking about it, and we'll see you soon.
Bye now.
Bye, everyone.